Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with VP of A&R at Capitol Records, Serge, discussing why attending Clark Atlanta University was his best decision, how he's made his career a lifestyle, and how his relationships have impacted his business moves. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and I'm sitting down with the current Vice President of A&R at Capitol Records, and we're going to get into the long list of things that you've done and are doing. Serge, how you feeling?
Amazing. Feels good to be back in Atlanta for the week. I'm out here for the commission week.
Yeah.
I'm part of the commission DJ, so it's like a week full of events, and I'm just excited to just come back to the city and see what's going on the music scene. Every time I come back, it's always something new.
Something new, right?
Yeah.
Do you miss Atlanta?
Always, yeah. Like I'm here like once a month. Like when they asked me to move, I made sure to tell them that I needed to be able to come back to Atlanta at least once a month, and it was like approved, you know.
Easy,
So,
yeah.
So I'm here
because they know what's happening down here.
Absolutely. Like Atlanta's the Motown, and I feel like the heartbeat of just urban music. Period. So anything from producers to artists, or songwriters, a lot of them come out of Atlanta, so I just want to make sure that I stay close and keep my fingerprint on the pulse of what's going on out here.
For sure. That's important. I mean, especially being the vice president of A&R at a record label. So that sounds like a pretty big deal. But I know and we know that this didn't happen overnight. These are some things that have been coming into play for over about 15 plus years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I want to get into talking about the journey. But first, I always like to figure out where you're from and like your background a little bit. Obviously, New York. You got the Yankees hat on.
That's my favorite hat. Like, it was crazy. I wear this hat. I don't watch baseball. I just wear that hat because I just love that hat. So, like, a lot of random baseball fans come up to me and be like, yo, you should have on a Boston hat. Like, and I just be like, dude, I don't even watch baseball. I just love the hat.
Right. And being from Queens, like, I always end up on this podcast, especially talking to people because a lot of people in the music industry are from New York or, like, they have lived in New York, and you just get it's something in the water. That's what I want to talk about. What's in the water?
Yeah, it's like, all right. So like my story is kind of interesting because like obviously New York is where hip hop was created and everything. And I was the kid. I grew up a basketball player, right? So I was a kid. Like I basically grew up in a park playing basketball, and just growing up in a park in New York City, like it's like you're amongst. It's us who are the basketball players. It's the drug dealers playing dice on the basketball court. It's people with the boom boxes playing the music. And, like, so that's kind of, like, what I grew up around. So it was just, like, the culture. And then, like, so it went from that to me just always wanting to have, like, whatever the latest mixtape was. So whether it was, like, DJ Clue or DJ K Slay or DJ Envy. And so that was, like, the culture, like, that I grew up just as a fan of music.
Right.
And I lived in Queens in Jamaica, and there's a place called Jamaica Avenue, which is like just a lot of shops. And like, man, like my mom would give me, like, what was my daily allowance was probably like, let's say like $10, $15 a day to, buy breakfast and
to get things
and lunch, right?
Transportation.
And I became such a fan of music, like sometimes like I would just save my money, my lunch money, and I would use that to go buy like whatever the latest mixtape was. So if it's like DJ Clue dropped the latest mixtape, I had to have it.
Can you recall your first mixtape that you saved for?
It was probably a doo-wop mixtape, and this is probably like 95, like, so it was probably like a DJ doo-wop mixtape, and that was like probably like even before DJ Clue. But I was always like a huge mixtape fan, and I just wanted to always hear like whatever the latest music was. And it's crazy that basically
that became your job.
That became my job.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So I mean, I said there's something in the water because there's like a specific, you grow up looking at people on the court or like playing their dice, hustling. Like there's just like a particular hustle that moves you. So even despite hip hop being founded and created in this city, there's more to speak to like your work ethic and how you move.
Yeah,
being from New York.
It's a hustle, right? Because I went to Catholic school. I was fortunate enough to go to Catholic school my whole life. So even like in high school, like I would have to take 3 trains to school. So it's like I'll be dressed in a uniform, and just being on a train in New York, like you got to move a certain way, and it's just you just got to always be aware of your surroundings,
For
and that's
sure.
why they always say like if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, because it's like you're looking at this teenager on a train, and to the goons, it's
Right.
probably look like a sitting duck or whatever. So it's just like you just learn how to move, walk different and everything, and so that's what kind of makes you like, because New York is rough, and
Yeah.
especially the trains, like it goes down on the train. So
I'm already knowing.
that's what it is. It's just like New York makes you makes you tough.
For sure. Yeah. I can agree. I spent about like 3 to 4 months there. I was like, I'm good. I'm good off it. All right. So you moved down to Atlanta for school.
Yep.
To go to Clark.
Yep.
We know it was popping.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Like
best decision I ever made.
Really?
Yes.
Did you finish school at Clark?
Yes.
And you say it's the best decision. Why?
Because so I'm glad we went through the New York story, because it's like, okay, so picture a guy being a fan of music and never been in the South. And just it was my boy DJ, brand new. We went to high school together, and he visited Clark, and he was like, "Yo, you got to go down there." Da da da. So I went to orientation for Clark. Fell in love with it. Like I used to be like I grew up now, but I used to be like a super extra New Yorker.
I'm sure.
The do-rag,
I'm already
the
knowing.
Yankee,
Tim's.
jewelry, Tim's in the summer. So I stuck out. Like in '99, like no one was wearing Tim's in the summer, right? So I stuck out like a sore thumb, but the women loved it,
You're
right?
It was different. It was new. We didn't have that down here.
Yeah, like so the women loved it, and I guess I could admit that I probably came to school for the wrong reasons, but it was the best decision I ever made.
That's
coming
beautiful.
down here, because the people that I met through school, it changed my life.
So how would you say you learned, or like at your time in Atlanta, because I mean you lived here beyond school, of course, but what's so special about especially with like music and entertainment for you, and like why do you think that pushed you to meeting Mace, and which we'll get into, and becoming his personal assistant, being in the studio all night? Like what was specific to the culture here versus what you might experience where you are now in LA and New York?
Well, Atlanta, like when I first got here, it was a culture shock, because I didn't understand when Pastor Troy, We Ready came on, why people were throwing bowls at each other, and like it was just like, yo, what's going, like, and this is music I've never heard before, like, so I was just introduced to it. And the reason why I say Clark, coming to Clark was the best decision is because going to college in the HBCU, you're going to school with people from all over, like different states, so it's like Cali people. Like I've never met a Cali person in New York, right? Like, you meet DC people and people from Detroit and Houston. So that whole like H-Town, syrup slowed down, chopped in. So it was like all of these different cultures, and like that's what I loved about the HBCU, Clark.
And
Atlanta.
even just on a like social status, because I went to Howard, so it's like you have people like me from the west side of Atlanta to people who are like still from the west side of Atlanta, but like middle class, upper middle class. So you see different walks of life for real.
Yes. Yes. So that's what like shaped me, because like in New York, everybody's from New York.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just what it is. But Atlanta was a melting pot of a lot of the states, and that's what kind of just helped shape me. Just get to know just different people, how different cultures and what people listen to and how they dress, and so that's why I loved it. And I was just blessed to just those years. Like I went to school with DJ Drama, Don Cannon, and all these guys that ended up becoming, like
which is so dope.
Big music execs, So.
What were you like at the time going to school with these people? Like, were you expecting that y'all's lives would be the way it is now?
Not.
What were your expectations?
We were just movers and shakers, right? So it was just like with me, I was a party promoter. I had a company called Catch 22 Entertainment, and like so I had a theme party, white tee and blue jeans.
Really?
And, it was a thing. It was a thing.
Because this is like the 2000s.
Yeah, this is like 2000s. Like it was a thing. Like the white tee and blue jeans party. Like people they definitely looked forward to it.
That's dope.
So I did that. But then, like I said, remember I told you that I was the guy with the mixtapes.
Right.
And I always wanted to buy them. So I felt like there was a void here of that. So I was actually the guy selling mixtapes on the strip. So
Mixtape, CD, DVD.
So during class, like let's say I had a 12 o'clock class. My first class was at 12 o'clock. I would go set up in front of the barber shop on the strip at 10 in the morning, and then whenever I had to be in class, I would have somebody working that didn't have class or whatever, and pay them like $10 an hour. And I did really well.
Wow.
Like just as an entrepreneur, just selling mixtapes on Clark and Landing Strip.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So I want to talk about how you got your, like, you knew that this is what you were supposed to be doing. Because, I mean, obviously in hindsight, you're like selling mixtapes, buying, having an interest in music or whatever was grooming you to be an A&R. But then becoming friends with Mace was like, boom.
Yeah, I never actually knew what an A&R was.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, you know what I mean? Like, music industry. Like I said, I was just a move-in shaker. I was just the guy that...
What were you in school for?
Computer science. And I knew I didn't want to do that. Like, I went to school and, just, like, I didn't want to write programs and, but that's what I went to school for because in 99, going into the 2000s, the computers were the future, and which it is, right? But, like, when I met Mace...
How'd y'all meet?
On a basketball team. Yeah, he played basketball, and we were the only guys from New York, so we became, like, best friends
At Clark?
away. Yeah, Clark.
I did not know that.
Like, it was a very short
stint.
Yeah, very short stint. And then we ended up quitting together. And, so he had quit rap and was pursuing his religion, his church career. And I tried it. But then I was like, I'm going back to being a freshman because it was just like, that's your path. Like, you've been through what you've been through. Like, I still got to live. So I tried it. And then when he decided to come back with the Welcome Back album, he called on me to be his personal assistant. And that was, like, my entry point into the business. And my love for A&R came from just being in the studio with him every night because he was like a workhorse. Like, he had to be in the studio, and he would run out of beats. And then that's when I kind of took it upon myself to kind of use my network of the people that I knew that made beats. And I would just go get beats. Yo, Mace looking for some beats. Go get it and give it to him. And I fell in love with the process of watching something turn from nothing into something. And especially working with a talented songwriter like him. So that's where my love for A&R came from.
So what's the formula? Because you actually credit Mace for your ear to a hit.
Yes.
Or to discovering a hit, I should say. So what's the formula, if you could put it in words, for like a hit record, in your opinion?
It's like everyday conversations, right? Like, so a hit is basically... Well, the definition of a hit is the right song on the right artist at the right time. That's the definition of a hit. But as far as songwriting is concerned, it's usually those everyday words that we use in conversation, and just putting that into like a melody or a song. But the thing about a hit is that you can have a hit that's not really saying nothing and it's just a melody, but strong lyrics. A hit with strong lyrics could last a lifetime, but you can also get a hit by just a catchy melody too. You know what I mean? But lyrics, like, so with me, like, I'm a lyric person, like, because those are songs that's gonna last forever. But like the hits with just like those catchy melodies, that's not really saying anything. Like, it could just be
It's
for
temporary,
a moment.
yeah.
But the ones with the lyrics, those are the ones that last a lifetime.
For sure, I can certainly agree.
Yeah.
So if you could describe, before I go there, you survived the music industry during the time in which there were like a lot of downloads, and this conversation is coming up a lot because I think we're trying to figure out how to sustain the music business with like streaming and like just a new direction, a new wave of what's going on, right? So early 2000s is when you were coming up into this, and you were able to move into different positions, just like looking at your resume and your career. That is very admirable to me.
Yeah.
And I just have a question of how were you able to survive the music business during that time?
Well, the music business has always been booming, right?
Yeah.
It just took a few hits here and there, but it's always been booming, right? Like when you really like go into it, like catalog helps pay everybody's bills,
That's
right?
real.
So, you know, and it's just like new stuff. So the different technologies change and stuff like that, it's just the labels just, you know, they adapt. Sometimes they're late on it, and you know, so I just feel like right now is the time where, okay, like they're on it and the streaming thing is really working out, because as the technology is changing, we have to it's like we're grooming fans on how to consume new music,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what's been happening lately. And as you're watching the subscribers, like Spotify, they just reported that they're at 87 million paid subscribers now, so it's growing. I remember the time where, you know, no one knew what Spotify was. And it
Right.
might have been 4 or 5 years ago when they really just existed in Sweden. So now, you know, for them being 87 million paid subscribers, it's only going to continue to grow. And basically, it's just that people are just, the consumers are being groomed to, this is the new way of consuming music. And you know, so you know, the days of the download, the actual buying the download, those days are probably going to be dead, because as you learn how to use Spotify, you'll figure out like, okay, I can actually download this whole album, and I can stream it, you know. So
Whenever.
what's the point of actually buying an album,
Yeah.
right, when
Yeah.
I could just download it now and just it'll just be saved. And so it's just a grooming process. So that's what we're getting to. And yeah, and you know, the music business is exploding. Like, you know, it's a lot of money being made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started to work with a pretty popular producer.
Yes.
By the name of No ID.
Yes.
And actually managing him.
Yes.
How did that come about? Well, how did this next move? So after, I'm trying to kind of give everyone a timeline for those that don't know, because I feel like people may know the name Serge and like know that you work with Capital, but don't know the story and the journey.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's definitely a journey, and like I said, it's just hustle and just I guess that's where the New York in me is, just the aggressiveness and you know. So my chance meeting with No ID, I used to stay at the Eclipse in Buckhead, and I was in my condo watching Kanye. There was a show on MTV called Driven, and Kanye West was featured on there, and No ID taught Kanye how to make beats, and he was on there talking. So I always knew the name No ID. I just didn't know how he looked, because he's a background guy. Like, he doesn't like to be out there like that. I was like, okay, that's No ID. I get in the elevator the next day, No ID's in there.
That's so crazy.
The New York in me kicked in, like, yo, I just seen you, da da da. And I was like, yo, what you doing down here? He's like, yo, I'm down here working with Jermaine Dupri. I was like, yo, who's your manager? He's like, I don't have a manager. I was like, well, let me manage you. And he was like, all right, we'll talk about it. And then, you know, we stayed in the same condo, and we just met on the I think the 10th floor, and we
you
just
had no idea he lived there.
No,
it just was started happening.
Yeah,
like,
it just
that's
happened.
crazy.
Yeah, just, you know. So sometimes I tell people luck plays a lot into people's careers and how things happen. But the thing about luck is, the more and more you pursue something, your luck increases. So luck definitely plays a lot in a lot of people's success.
Or manifesting.
Yes.
It's like you saw that, probably was like, I'm going to meet him, and then literally next day it happened.
Next day. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what did you learn during that experience of like managing No ID? Like what were some of your takeaways from
Oh man, a lot.
doing
I
that?
mean, to this day, you know, because it came back. It came back to recircle. But patience.
Yeah.
One of the things he told me, he said, Serge, I started making beats when Tyson first started fighting.
Wow.
And I'm still here, right? But Mike Tyson at the time was, you know, making millions and millions of dollars. So he was like, yo, like, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And that's one thing I took away from it, is that he's never been the producer to have those runs. Like, we've seen the Timberlands and the Dre's, and like, we've seen those runs, and he's never been that guy to be out there like that and, you know, publicize it and all that. And that's why, to me, he's been able to sustain and still be around. You know?
That's what's up. I definitely think it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Yes.
And it can be confused in 2018 when there's so much content being consumed and so much music being, you know, it's oversaturated essentially, but those that like can drop a project here or like do this song here and not be on the scene, I think survive.
Right.
So you've gone on to do many things. I want to kind of get into your relationships though, because I think the story in between each of these moves that you've made played a big part in who you knew,
Yes.
or how you met them, or whatever the
Absolutely.
case may be. So can you speak
Absolutely.
to some of those relationships with people like JD, Jermaine Dupri,
Yeah.
No ID, Mace, et cetera, and why
Right.
these were so important for you?
Well, it's just like one thing led to another because like so I was working with Mace, then he decided to quit again, and then it led to the chance meeting with No ID, and then No ID was down here working with Jermaine Dupri because he wanted to learn like how to make hits because JD at the time was on fire, so he moved down here and he worked alongside JD, and so JD like because like the thing about me. I hustle. Like I always had that hustler mentality. So JD, like what I was doing for him, I had ended up getting him a placement on Plies, and it was a record called "Put It On Ya." And so like JD liked how I was moving with him, and he had a publishing company at the time, and he had some really talented people signed to him, and so he liked how I was moving with Dion. So he was just like, "Hey, yo, why don't I got this publishing company? It was through EMI." And he was just like, "Yo, you should come over here and work for me." And that led to that. And in doing that, my job was just to pitch songs and set up sessions with all of the songwriters and producers that were signed to JD. And that led to me building a relationship with Atlantic. Because actually that Plies single that I got for No
No
ID helped me build a relationship with Aaron Bayshuk at the time, who was Mike Cameron's like understudy. So it was like Mike, and then Aaron introduced me to Mike. Mike was like, "Hey, look, I like your hustle. I like the records that you're sending me." He gave me a list of all of the projects that they were working on, and then he was like, "Hey, why don't you go out there?" And I remember the first time I did this. Now I think back, it was so crazy. But like he was like, "Yo, in 2 weeks, I want you to submit records for." It was like Plies, Flow Rider, Lupe Fiasco, Music Soul Child, just B.O.B., CeeLo Green. And yo, I remember going out and literally contacted everybody that I knew. And that Friday when he told me to submit it, I might have submitted 19 emails because, because it was just like, so now I look back like, yo, like who has time to go through fucking 19 emails? He was like,
right?
"No, just only send me things that you love." And so, but that was just
You
the
was just
hunger.
eager.
Yeah, eager. And I just put everything out there, so.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And like, your relationship to Mike Caren in general, it seems like, who are some of the people that you've seen win in this business, even speaking to your own journey, and why, in regards to the label indie situations, do you think that they win?
A lot of people win.
I'm just saying, but what is it that connects all of the people that have won, especially people that you've been so fortunate to be around and yourself?
Right.
Why are y'all winning?
Just I think we don't treat this like a job. We treat it as a lifestyle. True. And my slogan is like, I'm addicted to the win. So that's what drives me. Is just constantly going out there and just looking for those things, because this is a business that thrives off of new talent, and it's this out there. So I'm just addicted to that win, and like me personally, like I sacrifice my I don't have kids or no girl, none. Like I sacrifice like my personal life for this, but it's because I'm addicted to the win, So I think that that's like the common theme in everybody else. Even though music is an art form, but the mentality, you gotta have the mentality of an athlete, which is like, that's
what I was gonna ask you actually. How do you think being an all-city basketball player
it's that same
played
mentality.
into your career? Because
it's that same mentality.
The discipline, the work ethic. Even you playing basketball with Mace like that shows both of you guys like what drives you. Excuse me.
It's just it's that same mentality. Like I was on a panel the other day. It was like me, Chubby Baby, who's over at Hitco. And a few other people.
The muscle and the music. I know.
Yeah.
Portia Marie. Shout out to sis.
So it's like, yo, like you my man, Chubb, but like I'm trying to sign the biggest thing. So it's just like, yo, we cool. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to, like getting to it and signing the biggest artist, like, I'm trying to get to it,
For sure.
And we might go after the same things, but I mean, we're friends at the end of the day, but it's still like the mentality is like, yo, it's the same thing like when LeBron is playing his friends on the basketball court. Like, yo, we cool off the court, but on the court, I'm trying to take your head off.
Right, facts. Yeah. That's the only way. So I had to ask you, like, some of your Well, first, let's go back to the roster when you were over with JD. I do not know how to pronounce the actual publishing company. Is it
Denayamar. So
Denayamar?
yeah, it was him. It was his best friend, Skeeter Rock. That's the names of like their daughters and son.
I love that.
Yeah. So they named
Denayamar.
it, yeah.
Okay, so the roster included a lot of award-winning
Yes.
songs.
Yes. Yeah.
From Nitty's Young Jock is Going Down
that.
to Soulja Boy, Turn My Swag On, which
Yeah.
is Natural Disaster, to Usher, Nelly Grills.
Yeah.
I just, like, how did you feel working on these records that are what you said before, timeless?
Yes.
They are timeless records. Like, I still can hear those songs right now in the club.
Yeah, like Cristal, that she was the one that I enjoyed working with
Touch
the
My
most.
Body.
Oh man, like only make me feel like I'm the only girl in the world. Like just like yo, what are you thinking? Like when you writing these records, just that was a time, and I even remember like in Atlanta, like there was a time when like songwriting was like a thing. Like
Right.
this was around the time where there was a songwriting clique called the Clutch, and that roster included like my man Zeke, who's over at Epic now, and Kerry Hilson was part of it. JQ, it was just like Balewa. So it was just like it was just a time with songwriting, like every label you had to come through Atlanta to get your album done. And so this is the time where it was like Jermaine Dupri was over there, Dallas Austin was over there, Jazzy and them was over there, DJ Toomp was over here. Like it was just like it was so many different people that you had to go see. Brian Michael Cox, this is when he's on his, just run. And so it was like Atlanta had to be, and that was the time where, I was in it. So fast forwarding to now, it's totally different. It's totally different.
So do you think there's no place for songwriting right now? Or is there a place?
is, but that art form of the hit, because like now, popularity, it's about popularity. So it's like let me give you an example of what's happening on Spotify right now, right? It's like, okay, Rap Caviar, I'm just gonna use hip hop for example. Rap Caviar is the biggest playlist, right? Which probably has over like 10 million followers or whatever. So it's like when you get placed on that playlist, like you automatically probably gonna get up to 1 million streams a day, up like depending on where they place you.
Right.
So what I mean by like if such and such, who's an A-list song or artist, has a song coming out on Friday, because of popularity, they'll automatically get placed
On this
on Rap
playlist.
Caviar. Whereas before, pre-playlist, like you had to work your songs, right? Like you didn't drop a song on radio and it went number one. Like
Right.
you had to work it. But now it's like you'll get placed right at the top, like right away. So artists got lazy because they don't have to focus on writing the hit anymore, because popularity, they can just get placed right at the top, and it just kind of, they just set up for them. So I think that art form of like trying to write the biggest
best
and the
record.
best record, it's
That
not there
sucks.
anymore. So
That actually sucks a lot.
yeah.
How does that make you feel being a vice president of A&R
Well,
at a record label?
That's the advantage of coming up in the era I came up. Like, so the artist that I'm working on, like I got this artist named Lil Nar that I'm working on, and we just put out a project on him. But that, like, those were records he had already. But now, like me and him, we're in the studio, and like that's the focus. Like we're focused on creating timeless and just the hits, and that's the main focus, because that's what that's the goal. Because
Yeah.
it's like, he's popular, but like when you could be popular and then still be able to create the hits,
Right.
then that's when like you can really become like a staple in the music business. And I mean, when you look at artists like Drake, like look at what he's doing. It's
Right.
like, yeah, he's popular, but he's smashing them with the hits.
Right.
And that's
That's
the
a
goal.
lot of influence.
Yeah.
What would you, or how would you describe your day to day? Because I mean, you just told me you're in the studio with
Yeah.
this artist, but I'm sure there's multiple or different responsibilities that you have,
Yes.
i.e., traveling and
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
Yeah, most people a lot of people don't know what the actual A&R job is
No.
and what it entails. So it's like the day to day is like, waking up, going to the office. On Mondays is usually my research day. So I'm looking at the radio charts. I'm looking at like we have a research team. So I kind of look at what they have going on, but I do majority of my own research.
Why do you do your own research?
Because like the things that's on this list are just things that's streaming and they're doing really well. So it pops up on the radar. But with me, I understand that there are a lot of other things on there if that's not on the research. Because once it pops up on the research sheet, every label has this exact same information. So then it's just a bidding war on who wants to sign this artist. But like with me, A&R's greatest asset is information and relationships, right? So with me, it's about finding those things before they get on that research sheet, because like I said, once it does, then we're probably gonna be talking about $1 million conversations. So it's
Right.
about contacting those DJs that whether it's in Atlanta, New York, Florida. It's been a lot happening in Florida. The tastemakers, DJs, and attorneys. Attorneys help out a lot because they're the ones actually constructing a lot of these deals. So on Mondays, that's my research day. I'm mostly looking at that, surfing the blogs. And so when I first get to the office, that's what I'm doing. And then with the people that signed to the label, just trying to figure out if there's certain releases and just trying to connect the dots with the product managers and the streaming team. So it's a lot. Like as an A&R, we have a lot of responsibility, even on an administrative side. If it's booking the studio session or paying for a beat, like because we, as far as the budget's concerned, like we control the budget. So it's like if there's a song or a beat that we want to take off the market, then it's going through that. Then also getting all of the credits. The song is the samples, and so it's a lot.
It's a lot of duties, a lot of responsibilities.
And then traveling, a lot.
How do you keep up?
Like I said, I sacrificed my personal life because it just the new thing also is like and I'm about to really start traveling now because there's all of these different markets that's popping. So I'm supposed to be going to Argentina.
Oh, wow.
Sometime this month because the Latin market is
it's
exploding.
expanding.
And then there's also a lot going on in Africa. So Africa's about to get 4G now.
Oh,
so
wow.
like when that music, because everybody has cell phones there, but they don't have like the 4G.
The capability, right.
So when that 4G hits,
right,
the music there is going to explode. So
sure.
So it's just about traveling and going to those different regions and discovering what's happening out there and just being the first.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That you can travel and experience this.
Yeah.
Are you? I hear that you've mentioned your personal life a few times. Mm-hmm. Is this something that is that a regret, or you?
Nah.
Are you interested in still having a balance between your personal and professional life?
I kind of like it right now. Like I'm the only child, so
okay.
like I'm naturally a loner. You know what I mean? But I don't think like for right now. Like I think I have an idea of when I want to pursue that. But
gotcha.
Like right now it's just like I said, it's just work first and just really setting up. Like being that I just got this position and it's like really
I'm not trying to play Cupid right now. I'm like all in your business.
No, that's cool. That's cool. But so it's just I'll know when the time is right to really pursue that. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, why do you do music? What's your driving force between putting your all into this? Especially, you just seem like a very passionate individual mm-hmm. overall. So whether that be sports, when you were playing basketball, to now being in this music and entertainment space, mm-hmm. why do you do it?
I want to leave a legacy behind, right? I watch a lot of like motivational speaking things, and I watched this one thing. It was like Denzel. And he was talking to these students, and he was just like, yo, like, you never seen the Brinks truck follow a hearse. So he was like, you can't take none of this with you. So the reason why I do music is not only to leave a legacy behind, but to be able to help change people's lives. Like, like I've managed different producers, songwriters, artists, and the joy of being able to take someone from that was broke and complaining to like their life totally changing. I think that like it's that too. So it's almost like a giving back factor, but like just being able to leave like a legacy behind, because music is something that's gonna forever live forever. So I think being part of that that's the driving force behind why I do music personally. I mean, and it's just something I'm passionate about.
And it's fun.
Right.
It's a good time.
Absolutely.
Would you say that you enjoy your job?
Yeah. I don't ever actually feel like
It's a job.
it's a job. It's just, like I said, it's a lifestyle. Yeah.
That's real.
And the minute it stops being fun, then that's probably when I should probably tap out. But right now, I'm really enjoying it.
That's what's up. So, who are some of your influences? Like, or first question, actually, did you ever have aspirations of being an artist yourself?
Yeah. Well, not really, but yeah. So there's this. It's out there too. It's this freestyle. Yes, this freestyle. I was actually pretty good. But there's a freestyle out there that it was the AUC mixtape that I was on volume 2.
Oh, wow.
And, I was listening to it the other day, and I was like, yo, like if I probably stuck with this, but nah, I found out early on that it's the guys behind the scenes that not only they make all the money, but they're the one. They don't have to be out there like that.
Right.
So it's kind of like...
You enjoy being behind the scenes.
Yeah, I enjoy being behind the scenes and just being low. That's just my personality. Like, most people don't even really know what I do, and I kind of like that, you know what I mean? Because it's like, sometimes, like this barber that I go to, it's like every time I go there, it's like, yo, like, right before I'm done with my haircut, it's like, yo, check out this new artist. And it's like, yo, sometimes, like, I don't want to talk about music. You know what I'm saying? Because I do that all day long, so... So I like being low. I don't like everybody kind of knowing exactly what I do. I just, that's just Serge.
I feel you
so
completely.
Sometimes, I like being behind the scenes, whereas artists, they deal with so many different controversies and beefs, and that's not for me.
Your business is just out there when you put yourself up there. So I feel you.
It's a lot of pressure,
Yeah, definitely. Who would you say some of your influences are, or like have been throughout this journey, even beyond the A&R side of it, and then also like how have you used some of the strategies that you've seen that helped them?
L.A. Reid definitely is one of the my biggest influences. Big John, John Platt, who's the head. Well, he's about to be the head of Sony.
Oh wow, yeah.
Sony ATV Publishing. Obviously the Dr. Dre's, the Puffs, the Jay-Z's, just how they were able to pivot into just being more than a record label. The Cash Moneys, people like that, like people who, started out just doing music, but then they pivoted to just all these different ventures and became moguls. Russell Simmons, people like that. So,
what would you say that, and I know I kind of asked this before, but I think you could give me a different answer. Those people, the L.A. Reids, the John Platts, Dr. Dre, Puff, Jay-Z, they all have something in common, something that is like rotating.
Yes.
What have you noticed that they have, or that you have and you possess, that helped them, that have helped you even craft hit records and then climb your way up to the top of this like music ladder?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's that will to win, that determination. It's that same attitude. It applies with any and everything. Whether it's Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, every successful human being, like they all possess that. Like it's just like this. It's just this will to win and just to create something special.
So you managed a lot of like songwriters or producers rather. How has management helped you in like this A&R like label space? And is there ever like a conflict, or has there ever been a conflict when you work with labels but you have a relationship with like specifically with an artist that may, I don't know, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I have it. I have it. Thinking about management, management. I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday. This guy that I was this label that I was courting yesterday, and he said that he used to manage, but he was like, the thing about managers is that you can get fired or just on an any day thing. So he created a label, and it was like, yo, label, you can get fired, like, you know what I mean? So it's just the thing about management is that it's a lot of, you almost got to be like a therapy, and you know what I mean, like a psychiatrist to the clients, right? Because like you're like their everything, and your job is to create those opportunities and the monies to come in and stuff like that. So it's definitely a full-time job if you're doing it well. But as far as conflict, like I don't think it's been anything like that. Like for me, like it's like at the end of the day, if you manage somebody that's really good and you're working on a project, I mean, you just put two and two together, and you can get something special. But at the end of the day, you don't want to, like, the greed. That's what you don't want to do, is try to force it, because if it doesn't work, then you should just move on. But I think sometimes the greed will come in where someone tries to only put the people that they manage on projects, and that's where things could go left. So it's about still keeping that integrity of knowing, like, hey, like, I want to get this, like, if I'm A&R on a project, like, I want to get the best producers and songwriters and collaborators for this project, and not solely just the things that I manage and represent.
For sure.
Yeah.
So to circle back to how it all kind of started, in 2017, that's when you got the call from your longtime friend, No ID, and you were offered that position at Capitol. You said it was an offer you couldn't refuse. Why?
Because at the time I was working for a company called Empire, which was like, I remember when I first started working for Empire, I would tell people like, yo, what you doing now? Oh, I work for Empire. Oh, yo, you on a TV show? I'm like, nah, it's this company, that's like, it's a distribution company.
Yeah.
That's actually doing really well. So like, I was the Atlanta rep, Atlanta A&R, and help, sign a few things there. And I think actually Rollo was one of my guy over there. Rollo was one of the guys that I signed, and I kind of seen that early. And I would come here to Patchwerk and listen to his songs and stuff like that. So, what was I saying?
We were talking about how you got introduced to the opportunity to go to Capitol in LA.
So I was working for Empire, and like, so the offer I couldn't refuse was that, like, I was getting a cool little salary for Atlanta, but it was like, when they asked me to come out there, like, not only did they ask me to move, but the salary that they offered, and then all of the different benefits that came with it. Yeah, I couldn't turn down, because I always wanted to be in LA, because I understood, like, I love Atlanta, but I always understood that there was a missing link between, like, where the checks are and where the talent is. Yeah. So when I seen that opportunity, I was like, okay, like, let me move to LA, but still be able to come back to Atlanta, and when I get to Atlanta, take as many meetings as possible, and just be that guy that helps people, and kind of just be that opportunity to help all of the people here. So that's an offer that, like I said, I couldn't refuse. So and being at a label like Capitol, which is one of the, like, it's doing really well, like, and it's totally changed from when I first got there just 2 years ago to now, and just being able to provide a lot of opportunities for a lot of different creatives in Atlanta.
That's what's up.
Yeah, that I couldn't refuse that.
And how's it been, like, for your personal growth, like, in this position?
Man, amazing. Yeah. So actually, when I came there, I was actually a director of A&R, and that was 2017,
you move fast,
right?
You move fast.
Basically, how it goes is, it was a two. Like, my contract was like 2 years plus one option, right? And so in June, they'll start talking to you 6 months before your contract is up. So they was like, okay, yeah, we want to renew your contract. And I guess the chairman of Capitol, Steve Barnett, liked me so much that he told them, like, yo, I want to promote him to vice president. And so the HR was like, yo, we got him till next year. And he was like, nah, I don't care. He's like, rip that up, give him a new contract.
Lit.
So they just promoted you to vice president. So, like, and it was basically, it was like for him to let me know, like, yo, I really appreciate you, and I recognize you. So, yeah. So
well, congrats to you.
Yeah, thank you
for that movement, and I really admire. I mean, it's my first time meeting you, but I really admire your work ethic and the way that you move. And I think that a lot of people can say the same for the people that are listening.
Yeah. It's just like, you just gotta have, like, the attitude of, you just want to be able to just help people,
right? And
not make everything just about money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do a lot of things that, like, and somebody be like, yo, plug me with such and such. Like, I'll do it, right? Like, and it doesn't, like, but then there's other people that they want to be like the middleman to everything. Like money is not like my motivation. Like my motivation is just helping people, and keeping that attitude is what people be like, yo, I really mess with that dude.
And
like,
I value that.
And those things will come back.
For sure.
They'll come back to you, and that's just how I move.
You reap what you sow, and
Yes.
I'm very happy for you and all of your success, and I look forward to seeing you in LA soon.
Yes.
But safe travels back to LA.
Yep.
I hope that, those of you listening got some good words of advice from this guy here, Serge, who's been doing it for a minute.
Yeah, for a minute.
You've been out here.
Yeah, I've been out here.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Tell them where they can find you if you want people to follow you and see what you got going on.
Yeah, mostly on Instagram. Hollywood's at Hollywood Serge, at Hollywood SERGE _. And just hit me up. Tag me,
You Hollywood
whatever.
now.
Oh yeah. So that's the thing. Hollywood is the location, not the character.
Yeah. Okay. They love to say you didn't turn Hollywood on there.
Yeah, and I have no problem accepting that too. Yeah, I changed for the better.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Serge, thank you for sitting down with me. As always, you guys can find this podcast at IDM Podcast on all social networks, as well as myself, SammyApproved, on all social media platforms. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sitting with me.
Thank you.
Sonically superior.